छी ससुर हैं?
I wonder what really is the compulsion of Hindi film celebrities to really promote the music video starring KRK. Is it the professional loyalties towards T-series and aiding it in marketing, or something that is just unknown to general folk like us? It's just so polarizing because we have just noticed the massive success of Kalki and Amitabh Bachchan being celebrated, just like the massive superstar he was in the 70s, and then you see him promoting this music video. It all just seems odd, confusing, and rather bizarre. Speaking of wild aspects of the film industry, in the last few days, I had become slightly obsessed with the story around Darshan, the much celebrated Kannada actor. A celebrity revered for his roles on screen, but a personal life marred with controversy, having immunity with the law in so many instances just because of the celebrated stature he enjoyed in the state of Karnataka. A case where presumably fans were more than willing to end their life for the sake of their celebrated superstar. It made me think about our obsession with film stars, how individuals who don't have personal goals and focus in their own lives can get so invested regarding film stars that they're willing to do such heinous acts. It makes me think about a platform like X, and whenever I do post something about an actor's performance, how it immediately leads to a barrage of profanities from fan pages. Why or how people invest so much in actors? It may start from defending them, and it may lead to taking matters into your own hands, like we saw with this case. Just seeing the Darshan case and how wild it eventually became, I thought of focusing on some of the craziest Hindi film industry stories that consumed the tabloids and some that went under everyone's radar that you won't believe were real. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with the 10 wildest Bollywood stories you won't believe happened. The Nana Patekar on-set stories. For every director that has been asked about their experience with Nana Patekar on the sets of a film, it's been nothing short of eventful. An actor who is undoubtedly immensely talented but who is known to have a temper that often gets him into trouble, even with creators that he is working with. Mehul Kumar once spoke about dealing with the egos of both Raj Kumar and Nana Patekar on the sets of Tiranga, and the sheer skepticism a star like Raj Kumar had the moment he thought about breaking the news to him about casting Nana Patekar opposite him.
फोन किया घर पे ना राजी वो कैरेक्टर के लिए मैंने नाना पाटेकर को फाइनल किया तो राजी एकदम बोलते अरे भाई उसको कहाँ फाइनल किया तुमने मैंने सुना तो बहुत ही जाहिल किस्म का इंसान है.
We have previously spoken about Sanjay Leela Bansali's experience working with Nana Patekar on the sets of Khamoshi and how he attributed it to being an extremely unpleasant experience.
I did not enjoy the experience of working with Nana Patekar, to be very obvious, to say it. It was a film that put that whole process of acting with a person, I didn't enjoy the film.
Nothing, however, is more wild than the story of Nana Patekar and Vidhu Vinod Chopra on the sets of Parinda, where the actor and director were involved in a physical fight with each other, so much so that the police had to land up on set. What's hilarious about this rather toxic dynamic is that they went on to shoot despite the physical scuffle.
पहला झगड़ा परिंदा में नाना से ये हुआ था कि उसने खाना मांग लिया था दोपहर को. मैंने कहा घर से नहीं लाया खाना. उसने माँ बहन की गाली दी. मैंने गालियां सीख ली थी तब तक और मैंने उसका कुर्ता फाड़ दिया. और वो शॉट उसने बनियान में किया है क्योंकि कुर्ता फट गया था.
But when Nana Patekar is asked about his experience, he doesn't have very pleasant things to say about Vidhu Vinod Chopra.
विदु को पसंद नहीं आ रहा था कुर्ता आपका?
अरे विदु को मुझे विदु ही पसंद नहीं.
The Anupam Kher slapgate. In my conversation with Anupama Chopra, we had spoken about how ruthless was the nature of film magazines back in the day and how they would not think twice before throwing punches with their exaggerated headlines. The magazines would speak about affairs, the failure of actors with films, and even in some cases expose medical conditions of actors that were in many cases based on just rumors. A case is spreading the news regarding Mithun Chakrabarti having AIDS had sent shockwaves in the industry. On what basis a magazine would be making such claims and still getting away scot-free was essentially the wild west of the 90s. In one case, almost the entire film industry banded together in support of Anupam Kher in 1992, revolting against the journalism of Stardust magazine that accused him of corrupting the sister of debutant star Mamta Kulkarni. During the shooting schedule in Bangalore, Anupam Kher had slapped a journalist for insinuating the same and denied the shocking claims made in the article. It's quite crazy to see some of the actors and the unabashed and fearless nature with which they give statements to the press back in the day.
जो थप्पड़ मारा है अच्छा क्या मारा है बिकॉज ये जो पब्लिकली हमें थप्पड़ मार रहे हैं जो हमारी जो इमेज है जो हम नहीं है मतलब जो गलत इमेज जो पोर्ट्रे कर रहे हैं it is worse than someone slapping us.
The Katrina Kaif Screen Award situation. At the height of the boycott Bollywood movement post the demise of Sushant Singh Rajput, where a lot was being said about the nature of the industry, the limited opportunities for outsiders and the tantrums of stars, Shekhar Gupta had written an article with the print titled It's a Dirty Picture. Among several anecdotes in the article, the one that stuck with me was his experience in organizing the Screen Awards. In the article, Shekhar Gupta clearly states that award shows in India are essentially TV shows, dependent on stars and sponsors, and how many clans would boycott the show if it was decided that they weren't getting an award. In one instance, Shekhar Gupta writes, in 2010, when Katrina Kaif was to perform, paid fully in advance, she threw a tantrum minutes before her performance, as she wasn't given any award. The article states, I was taken to her vanity van to plead with her. Katrina was all dressed and painted up to perform. And then the outburst. Why do they always call me but give me no awards? I said that was never the deal. You have a contract to perform. But by now, tears were streaming down her face, taking much of the makeup in their wake. Again, we invented a Popular Choice Award. It is wild when you get to know what goes down behind the scenes if we assume what Shekhar Gupta is writing is true. Man Singh Yadav. One of the most fascinating experiences on a film set is equated to the Shekhar Kapoor directed film Bandit Queen. The film had a batch of actors that would go on to become extremely popular faces in the industry. Seema Biswas, Nirmal Pandey, Aditya Srivastav, Saurabh Shukla and Manoj Bajpayee, just to name a few. Manoj Bajpayee played the role of Man Singh, and what's fascinating about their experience on set was that they were always confused about the presence of a man that was on set and would accompany them on the journey back to the guest house. But nobody knew about his identity or purpose. What's shocking is that this man, who almost became the shadow of Manoj Bajpayee on the sets, was the real Man Singh, the character Manoj Bajpayee was playing in the film.
हम तो इन बेहड़ा में जो है पूरी ज़िंदगी गुजारे हैं. हमको पता है कि कहाँ पे हमला हो सकता है, कहाँ पे किसी को पता चल गया कि हम गाड़ी में मान सिंह जा रहे हैं तो लोग हमला कर सकते हैं.
Imagine being in the company of a real bandit, leaving the sets hoping and praying that you don't get attacked. These are the kind of wild stories that just seem impossible in today's day and age. The MF Husain and Madhuri Dixit dynamic. One of the most odd professional relationships and an obsession that alarmed me was how MF Husain felt about Madhuri Dixit. The famous painter and his muse had several stories floating around on how the artist was absolutely enamored by the actress, having several paintings and movies dedicated to her over the years. The obsession was so intense that in his autobiography, MF Husain writes about him seeing Hum Aapke Hain Kaun for the first time in an Ahmedabad cinema hall. The autobiography writes, I'd thrown my paintbrush at her on the screen. The way the devout shower marigold flowers upon an idol. The cinema's manager had returned the brush saying, when you meet Madhuri, give this brush to her with your own hands. MF Husain had even directed a film called Gaj Gamini, where Madhuri Dixit played the epitome of an Indian woman in different forms. This was not an alarming tale, but his directed film Meenakshi, starring Tabu and Kunal Kapoor, about a novelist with a writer's block enamored by a beauty, was essentially his relationship with Madhuri Dixit on celluloid. There are countless stories of MF Husain's visits over chai to Madhuri's home, his obsession with her ethereal beauty, his disappointment in her settling down in the States. It's all rather wild if you ask me. A relationship only normalized for its form takes the shape of art versus anything morbid. The hilarious award show tale. In the early days of YouTube, there used to be a YouTube channel by the name of SNG Comedy. The group of comedians that you see on Varun Thakur's channel that do the Internet Said So podcast was a larger faction on this channel a few years ago. On this podcast, when Varun Grover came in as a guest, he spoke about a wild incident that took place at the IFA Awards. Hinted by Grover as a lead actor who was getting a supporting role award, an actor who has had his fair share of experiences with law and order was to be presented an award by the camera crew surprising him backstage. When they did surprise him in his green room, what they were met with was something nobody anticipated.
उन्होंने नाम अनाउंस किया और ये कैमरा ऐसा दरवाज़ा खोला इन्होंने ग्रीन रूम का और उधर की वो उसके लिए he was like there was बहुत 3 बोतल रखी हुई है he was fully sloshed कैमरा गाय सेट की है आपका अवार्ड अनाउंस हुआ है said like
I can't even imagine what the reaction of the live audience may have been, and more importantly, who the actor being spoken about may have been. The Saif Ali Khan restaurant gate. The more you hear about the stories that transpired in the 90s and the mid-2000s before the advent and saturation of social media, it becomes set in stone from my perspective that such a wild time just cannot be replicated. In an incident at the Mumbai Taj Hotel, Saif Ali Khan presumably got into a brawl with an NRI businessman from South Africa called Iqbal Sharma. While Saif stated that the person told him to stay quiet and was attacked first, and that he only retaliated in self-defense,
I was hit first, and as shocking as it may seem, I believe the elderly gentleman hit me. I'm not sure what provoked him. Obviously, this is an incident that is that has two sides of the story, and it's in court.
The businessman claimed that the actor was combative, said that if he wanted silence, he could go to a library, and pushed him first.
We were going down, he was coming up, we kind of crossed each other, and then he sort of accosted me and called me names and said, why are you complaining? You know, this is not a library. If you want quiet, go to a library. Don't you know who I am and who do you think you are to lay such a complaint? And we exchanged some words, and then he pushed me. And then my father-in-law came to the assistance to try and intervene so that it doesn't get worse than that. And Saif instead assaulted him.
There was no CCTV footage found regarding the case, and what's crazy is that after 11 years of the incident, the trial against the actor and 2 others has begun. Shah Rukh Khan's infamous story. Shah Rukh Khan was once considered to be the media's favorite, an actor who would consciously give statements and interviews no matter how troublesome the situation. I remember vividly when the Wankhede Stadium incident happened, how Shah Rukh Khan very clearly stated his side and what transpired. However, the craziest story regarding Shah Rukh Khan includes an incident where a journalist claimed that the actor was getting cozy with a co-actor while preparing for a role in the 90s. This is when Shah Rukh Khan claims that when one is young and newly married, it becomes very tough to deal with such nasty reports based on lies, and his inner Dilli ka londa emerged.
So I called up this lady and I said, you know, why have you written this? So she said, Shah Rukh, it's a joke. It's a joke, but it's not funny. Lady, do you hear me talking, laughing? And I wasn't saying it like this. मैं दिल्ली वाली कहता, तेरी पहन दी, तुझे हंसी आ रही, मैं हंस रहा हूँ पहन. And I went there, I fought. I beat up people and I did some really, really nasty stuff.
What's the craziest part about the story is that when Shah Rukh Khan was in custody and was given his one and only phone call that he can make, what he chose to use it for.
Instead of making that one phone call to my family, friends, or any lawyer that I would have had, which I didn't, I made the call to that guy who had reported me. And I said, साले अब तो जेल भी चला गया हूँ. और अब तो निकल के आऊंगा और तेरे को काट के ही जाऊंगा.
They were not kidding when they were saying that the 90s was the wild, wild west. The curious case of Nirmal Das. Mumbai is a tough place for anyone, especially actors if they want to make it big in the Hindi film industry. Whenever one equates to the batch of actors that graduated from the National School of Drama or FTII, everyone only knows about the actors who actually made it. This is where the stories told by Nawazuddin Siddiqui and Durgesh Kumar absolutely haunt you. While Nawazuddin Siddiqui talks about the curious case of Nirmal Das, an actor from his batch who almost became an omnipresent figure who would come in front of him and other actors. Having given him money in Delhi, he would find him in Versova. Piyush Mishra would see him outside the airport. Tanishta Chatterjee would see him in Juhu out of nowhere, making one wonder about his mental state and whereabouts. Durgesh Kumar says in an unfiltered state on how the pressures of this city are so debilitating that it can make a sane man crazy, specifically referencing Nirmal Das and a PSA to anyone who wants to come to Mumbai to make their dreams a reality.
नवाजुद्दीन सिद्दीकी जी का नाम देखिएगा, उसके नीचे निर्मल दास का नाम है. निर्मल दास को रोल मिला था सरफरोश में. निर्मल दास पागल होके मर गया, ये किसी को पता ही नहीं. इतना मेंटली स्ट्रांग, फिजिकली स्ट्रांग और इकोनॉमिकली स्ट्रांग अगर नहीं है प्लीज बॉम्बे मत आइए.
Zena Tamann's troubled life. One of the most heartbreaking stories is when you read about Zena Tamann and the tumultuous journey she has had over several decades, especially her personal life. When one especially talks about the infamous incident regarding her and Sanjay Khan, one can't help but be appalled by the callous nature with which one defends the incident as if it never happened. Other than the validity of the incident that pertains to physical violence, when Zena Tamann speaks about her struggle of her marriage with actor Mazhar Khan, someone for which she had become a caretaker as he was extremely ill for several years, one can't help but empathize with the troubled personal life of the actor.
Who looked after you in all these years? Nobody. But that's what happens, Simi. You give and you give and you give and you give. And then there's nothing left to give. Yeah. Because you're completely wrung out and depleted. Yeah. And that is what you want at the end of the day, is somebody to say, well, how are you today? But I never had that.
What's even more disturbing is if you read about Zena Tamann's third marriage and the terrible circumstances that have arose with that association. You really do feel relieved for the personal resurgence of sorts for the actor getting commercial opportunities today, because life has been nothing short of a whirlwind of battles. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you think about several of these wild stories that have transpired and whether they can ever happen in today's day and age of social media. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.